It's really good to be back with you. I'm excited to share some more homemaking ideas for the year 2026. Thank you so much for joining me. I really love the months of January and February. For me, I very intentionally slow down and try to hibernate, if you will. It's the couple of months of the year that our schedules slow down and we're able to relax, renew from the busy holiday season. And I treasured these days. They're slower paced and I like to do things that I really enjoy. So today I have it in my mind to bake. I want to bake with the intention of filling up our freezer with breads made from freshly milled flour. It's cold outside, even though we have not gotten a lot of snow this year, and baking in the kitchen just feels like the perfect winter day for me. And with not a lot of other things going on, I feel like it's a really good use of my time to prepare for busier days ahead by just stocking up our freezer with breads that I can pull out at a minute's notice. I don't always have a slower week where I can spend an entire day baking in the kitchen. I wish that was the case, but it's not. So I like to make sure and supplement and fill my freezer with products from Wild Grain. If you haven't yet heard about Wild Grain, let me tell you a little bit about them. They are the first bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and homemade pastas. Wild Grain loves to partner with small bakers and pasta makers throughout the country to make products that have clean, wonderful ingredients and really quality products. Wild Grain has a ton of product options. I love that they provide breads that are gluten-free. They have vegan products, and they have some new protein boxes. So I'm excited to try that out in future monthly subscriptions. Let me go through my box here real quick and share with you what I got this time. I love that you get free croissants for life. And their croissants are absolutely to die for. They're so delicious. We love to make them on special occasions for like croissant sandwiches and whatnot. Since it's February and we're nearing Valentine's Day, I decided to try some of their chocolate products. So they have these chocolate avalanche croissants, which look really good. Can't wait to bake those up. But then I'm gonna have to try to hide this one from my kids. But I got chocolate lava cakes. Will be great to throw together really quick for my husband and I for Valentine's Day. I don't have to think about it. I don't always love to bake sweets, so I love that I can have some of these in the freezer ready to bake in a moment's notice. Okay, this one I'm really excited about. You know I love whole grains, sourdough breads, all those things. So they have a slow fermented ancient grain ciabatta bread. I love ciabatta bread. And I love their slow fermented products, because they say they actually let them ferment for 20 hours. A lot of times if you get sourdough products in the stores, they're really only made up in 20 minutes with commercial sourdough products. And so they don't have the slow fermented benefits that come with a long ferment, which makes it easier to digest, a little easier on your system. So I love that they have this option. I love their sourdough whole wheat bread, which uses organic whole wheat flour. It's always delicious. Sometimes I'm not on top of making sourdough breads, even though I love them. So I love that this is in the oven or in the freezer and I can just throw it in the oven. And when I make a soup or something, it's just quick and easy to have a bread product to go with it. I love to get their churned French butter. It's delicious. I also grabbed their maple Belgian waffles this time. I thought this would be a fun, like either Saturday morning breakfast for my kids or maybe a Valentine's treat for my kids. Drizzle it with some chocolate syrup. Anyway, just ordered some special things this time to make the month special. Winter can be hard to get through, so having some delicious baked goods to go with it is always a great idea. If you're ready to give Wild Grain a try, go ahead and click the link in my description below. You can use the code TIDBITS to get $30 off your first subscription box plus free croissants for life. So either go to wildgrain/tidbits or just click the link in my description below and we'll get you going. A huge thanks to Wild Grain for sponsoring this video. Now let's keep baking. I am very passionate about making our homemade bread from freshly milled flour. It's just so much more nutritious. You're getting the whole product without the bran and germ being sifted out. And so you get the added fiber, you get the added nutrients like thiamine, loads of vitamin E, riboflavin, niacin, folate, vitamin B6, and then of course minerals like magnesium, iron, zinc, and so on. It's such a more nutritious product and the taste is so much better. So the recipes I'm going to be cooking today are actually found in my new cookbook. Super excited to share this with you guys. This has been a labor of love for many, many months and thrilled to have it done and ready for you guys to purchase. I really wanted to write this cookbook 100% whole wheat yeast breads with freshly milled flour because I've gotten really passionate about it, but I have found it's hard to find just simple, reliable recipes when it comes to yeast breads, and especially recipes that have been tested for freshly milled flour. So I've been working really hard in my kitchen to do this for you guys and have rounded up 21 recipes in here that are just tried and true. I'm making them over and over again, and they'll really help you learn how to make bread with freshly milled flour. I'm making a few things that I want to make in bulk and get in the freezer, like I said, so that we can just pull them out when needed. Fresh baked bread is super great if you can get into the freezer as soon as possible after you bake it. Then you just like wild grain products, you put it from the freezer to your oven and they just turn out moist and perfect like the day you made them. So today I want to make these crescent rolls. My family really loves them and they're just adorable and really fun to make. So I'll show you the process which I do those, and then I'll stick them in the freezer for later. And then I want to make a ton of pizza dough with freshly milled flour. This is something that's really great to kind of flash bake and then put in the freezer. It's great on like date nights when hubby and I leave and our kids need some easy, quick food. They can just get the crust out of the freezer. You can even freeze the pizza toppings next to it. Then they can make it themselves, or if it's just a really busy weeknight and I need something fast, no one is going to complain about pizza. Okay, and then I need to make a lot of bagels. These are to die for, delicious. And I love to have them sliced in half, ready in the freezer for really busy mornings where I just don't have time to make maybe fresh muffins or any other kind of breakfast. It's really great to have those in the freezer. You toast them up, they are delicious and just as good as the day you bake them. So those are some things I want to get to, plus make some dinner for tonight to serve with the slow fermented sourdough bread I got out of the oven. Anyway, lots of baking today. Glad to have you with me, and I'll leave a link to my new cookbook down in the description, where you can go to tidbitsandco.com and check out all of my products. The first grain I milled today was hard white wheat. I feel like it's a really good one, all-purpose, and has a lot of protein, so you get a better gluten structure than you would from the soft wheats. So it works great for any yeast breads. I also love hard red wheat, which we'll use later on today, but here's this beautiful, fluffy, fresh milled, hard white wheat. So I'm gonna start by getting the crescent rolls going, and the fat that they use is some cold butter. So you get the butter out of the fridge, chop it into little cubes that you're gonna slowly knead into the dough. And this dough is really rich and buttery because we're using milk and of course the butter, so it makes a very fluffy, flaky, delicious roll. The crescent rolls also take a lot of kneading, so I like to use my Bosch mixer for this. So I put in the water and the yeast, and I'm letting that activate the yeast so it's ready to be made into rolls. Once that yeast is activated, we're going to be generous and add 2 eggs. It really gives it a little more volume. And of course we need some salt, which helps add in the flavor. I get all of that mixed up, and then I'm ready to slowly add the freshly milled flour. All my recipes I've listed in grams, but of course you kind of have to adapt just depending on the moisture that day, in the air, or the humidity, or all sorts of factors. But in my recipes, I like to give the weight of the flour by grams. It helps it be a little more accurate overall. But you fold in the butter and add the flour and just let that mix and incorporate for a good 10 minutes. It may look a little tacky at first, but once you mix it, it really comes together quite well. I like to put a little olive oil in a bowl and then get my hands really oiled up. Dump the dough into that bowl, and that's when we'll set it aside to raise pretty much double the size that you see it now. We're also going to get the dough going for the pizza dough that I want to make and get in the freezer. It's really easy, comes together super fast. It's a great weeknight dinner, even if you're making it from fresh and don't have it frozen. Just add the water, the yeast, olive oil, salt, a little bit of honey, and then of course your freshly milled flour, which we're using the remainder of the hard white wheat that I milled up. Pizza is also a great one that you can just knead by hand, but if your mixer's already dirty, then it's great to just use that. Then of course the same thing, just put your dough in an oiled bowl and cover it with a towel, saran wrap, whatever you have, and set it aside to raise. And I've got sticky notes here by my bowls because I'm afraid I would forget which dough is which, so that's helpful if you're doing a big baking day. Now I'm milling up some hard red wheat. I love hard red. I think it has the most protein content, so it really creates fluffy, stretchy breads quite well. And I have found in experimenting with the hard white and the hard red for the bagel recipe, I really prefer the hard red. It makes them so fluffy and soft inside. I love making these bagels. To make the dough, I'm actually going to use instant yeast in this instant. I feel like it does a lot better. So I mix the water, olive oil, honey, salt. I use a little bit of sunflower lecithin to make them more stretchy and fluffy in this recipe. And then some honey, throw in the instant yeast, and mix all these together. Add your freshly milled flour. I find these are super easy to just throw together. You don't have the wait time of letting the yeast activate. They just come together really quick as far as the dough making part. You'll see this beautiful hard red flour all milled. I like to give it a stir. It kind of fluffs it up and makes the measuring a little more accurate if you're using just cups specifically. But I just wanted to show you how beautiful this flour is. I love hard red because it's got a little more depth of flavor and color, so it kind of creates these rustic baked goods that are very fluffy and glutinous, and they're delicious. I really hope you give this recipe a try. They're also on my blog, but included in my cookbook as well. With hard red, you actually need to give it some time to soak up all that moisture. It's a very thirsty grain, and so you can knead it for a while, you can let it just sit and soak it up, but eventually it comes together. You have to be careful not to add too much flour, but you can see here the dough is very stretchy and is holding its shape really well. So same thing, put it in an oiled bowl and then set it aside and let it rise until about double the size. And I will be sure to link down below in the description all the baking supplies that I use. If these are items that you think would help you in your baking, I will link everything out to you. But once I'd made all that dough, the crescent roll dough was more than ready. You can see it just almost spilling over this bowl. But it was ready to shape. And these are really fun to make just because I think shaping them is so fun. So what I like to do is kind of release the air bubbles out of that dough, and then I like to split it in half because it works a little bit better to get the right size and shape for these rolls. So just cut your dough roughly in half and work with that round of dough separately from the other until you've shaped your crescent rolls. Once I have shaped this dough into a round form, I roll it out until it comes to about 16 to 18 inches in diameter. That just seems to be about the right thickness and size to make these rolls. So don't worry about perfection too much, but if you can get both the top and bottom of this dough as smooth as possible, your rolls will really look quite beautiful. So once that's rolled out really smooth, I get my pizza cutter and divide them into little triangles. So I cut them in half one way and then in fours, and then each of those four sections I cut into thirds. So that's getting me 12 crescent rolls that I can make out of the half of the dough that I made up. So once they're in triangle shapes, it's just really fun. You take it from the long side and gently roll them up, kind of tuck that little point in and put them down on the pan with that point facing down so it doesn't really kind of explode and come undone when you're cooking them. But these are really fun to make, and you just do the same thing to the other half of dough that you've got there. And it makes a lot of rolls, and it can really feed you for several meals probably for your family. But I find these just super enjoyable to make. So once those are on your pan, you can set them aside and let them rise a little bit again, probably for like 20 minutes, and then they're ready to go in the oven. Okay, let's continue on with the pizza dough. It is more than ready as well. It's time to punch it down and shape it. Instead of two big pizzas that this would normally make, because I doubled my recipe, I'm going to make small pizzas out of it. I've done about a 4-ounce piece of dough to make each one a little more uniform. It helps it so that kids don't get so upset choosing the biggest pizza, but it's all the little details right. So prepare a pan, and then I just like to shape my 4-ounce balls of dough into little rounds and put them on a pan to raise a little bit more before I roll them out and shape them. You don't need them to raise too much, just like another 20-30 minutes on the pan. We'll give it a little more air, and then it's ready to be shaped and baked or frozen or however you want to do your pizza dough. So in the time it took me to shape all that pizza, these crescent rolls were ready. Now I like to melt a stick of butter and paste them on each little roll. These are very decadent, rich rolls with all the butter and milk we've used, but it makes them so delicious. So I'm very, very liberal with all the butter that we're using, and I paste it on each one, and then you stick them in the oven to bake. Now you'll see here the pizza rounds are ready to roll out. They've risen quite a bit, And I pulled out another sheet pan to use. Since we roll them out, they're going to take up more space. And I am actually just going to flash bake these, and meaning like I'm not cooking them all the way, just enough that they kind of hold their form. I guess they could be considered done by the time I'm done baking them, but if you're making pizza fresh, you can actually roll them out like this as dough and then put on your toppings and then bake the pizza. That's what we would do when they were fresh. But since I want these in the freezer for quick date nights or quick weeknight meals, I'm just gonna bake them for a few minutes and then put them in freezer bags. And now it was time to work on this bagel dough. I'm also weighing these about 4 ounces. I find that 4 ounces is great for like a medium-sized bagel. A 5-ounce ball of dough is about a traditional size of bagel, and I feel like that's like too much bread to eat in one sitting. So I like to do 4 ounces for these. But you'll see on this hard red dough, it's a little bit darker in color. Now I had to take a break to pull out these crescent rolls, and again we are going to paste or baste, whatever the correct word is here, some more butter on the top while these are cooling down. I know it's a lot, but it just makes them extra flavorful and delicious. I'm also putting in the pizza dough to do that quick flash bake for about 7 to 10 minutes. Really multitasking in the kitchen here. You're seeing how I'm balancing all of these things all at once. It was a busy day in the kitchen, but really enjoyable. I like to kind of just get in the zone and do all this at once like this. It's especially nice because you've already dirtied all the dishes, so you're just washing them once, basically, even though you're making 3 different things. So very productive thing to do while you're in the kitchen is to batch bake and get things in the freezer. Now the pizza dough's done. We're just gonna put that to the side, let it cool down. You want it cooled completely before you put it in freezer bags. I find that just helps it not to get a bunch of ice crystals and moisture built up while you're freezing it. Now for the really fun part in the bagels. I love this process. You get some water boiling and put baking soda in it and brown sugar. That's what's gonna give them this like chewy texture on the outside. And while that's boiling, I take each little ball of dough that has risen and gotten a little bit bigger from when we shaped the balls, and you poke a little hole in the center with your thumb. I like to dip my thumb in some flour just so it doesn't stick. It makes the hole a little more defined. And then you put them in the boiling water and boil each side for about 30 seconds. And then I like to use a slotted spoon to kind of drain out the water and place the boiled bagels right onto a cookie sheet, or a sheet pan, I should say, and let those sit until I'm ready to top them with some toppings. Another important step in getting that chewy exterior bite on a bagel is to baste it with some egg whites. So I get some egg whites, put in a little bit of water, mix it up really good, and then paste that on top of the bagels. You can do a lot of fun things with bagels. So I'm using sesame seeds to top some of them, and then everything but the bagel seasoning. Some I leave just plain in case we want to flavor it different ways with what spreads we put on them when we eat them. You can put some cinnamon and sugar, which is my kids' favorite thing for me to top them with. And then what's really fun is when you put cream cheese on your bagel, you can also add some cinnamon sugar inside the cream cheese and stir it up, and then use that to top your bagel. It's really quite delicious and fun to just get creative with the toppings. But that full day of baking made a mess of the kitchen, so I needed to take a few minutes to clean up while it was all cooking. found it really fulfilling to lay out all my hard days of work out on this table. It was fun because my kids were actually at a co-op all day and my hubby was out working in the shop. And so when everyone came home at about 3 o'clock and saw all this laid out, they were amazed and very disappointed when I told them, yeah, these are going into the freezer for later. But they were relieved when I had that wild grain loaf of sourdough bread to make up with our cauliflower soup for dinner that night. And since then, they've thoroughly enjoyed us being able to bring out these baked goods very quickly and get them on the table with our meals and to have bagels for breakfast at any given time. So a day well spent in the kitchen. I hope you enjoyed this baking marathon with me. I hope you felt inspired. Again, I will leave resources down in the description below, the recipes, the cookbook, everything, so that hopefully you can have a fun day baking in the kitchen as well. Thanks for joining me, my friend. I will be back very soon to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home.